For centuries, leaders, kings, generals, and gangsters have wrestled with the same question: is it better to be loved or feared? Niccolò Machiavelli gave his answer 500 years ago in The Prince. It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. It's a line that shocks people because it cuts against what we want to believe. We want to believe love is stronger. We want to believe kindness will win loyalty. But history tells a harsher truth. Love is fragile. Love shifts with mood and fortune. Fear endures. Fear commands obedience even when love is gone. And if you trace the lives of the powerful emperors of Rome, conquerors of Asia, mob bosses of Chicago, even titans of modern business, you find the same truth repeating again and again. Love may inspire, but fear protects. Love may fade, fear survives. Number 1. Machiavelli and the Collapse of Florence. To understand why Machiavelli wrote these words, you have to see the world he lived in. Florence, in the early 1500s, was a city of wealth and treachery. Armies of France, Spain, and the Holy Roman Empire fought constantly across Italy. Alliances shifted overnight. Princes hired mercenaries one year, then faced them as enemies the next. Machiavelli served as a diplomat. He watched rulers who tried to be generous, merciful, and beloved, only to be betrayed, exiled, or executed. He watched the Medici family, who ruled Florence, fall and rise again, destroying enemies without hesitation. When Machiavelli himself was exiled and tortured, he saw how quickly loyalty vanished once power was gone. So he wrote The Prince not as theory, but as survival advice. He explained that love is voluntary. People love you when you serve their interest, but fear compels them even when it's against their will. Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and deceivers, he wrote. They shun danger and are greedy for gain. While you serve their interest, they are yours. But when you are in need, they turn against you. It was a brutal observation, but one confirmed again and again in history. Number 2. Julius Caesar, loved by the people, betrayed by the elite. In Rome, Julius Caesar rose not through fear, but through love. He gave land to veterans, staged games for the masses, and pardoned his enemies. When he returned from conquest in Gaul, the people adored him. They shouted his name, filled the streets, hailed him as a hero. But in the Senate, fear was missing. His rivals didn't dread him, they resented him. And because they didn't fear him enough, they acted. On the Ides of March, men he had spared and honored stabbed him to death. Contrast that with Augustus, his adopted heir. Augustus learned from Caesar's mistake. He didn't seek to be loved alone. He quietly eliminated rivals, consolidated power, and made himself feared in the Senate while presenting the mask of a humble servant of the Republic. Augustus ruled for 4 decades. Caesar's love made him a martyr. Augustus's fear made him an emperor. Your company may like you as a person. They may enjoy your jokes, your presence, even your friendship. But when the moment comes to cut jobs, do they fear losing you? Do they see you as irreplaceable? That fear, not affection, is what secures your place. Number 3. Genghis Khan, terror as a strategy. Centuries later, Genghis Khan rose from the steppes of Mongolia with nothing but a band of followers. He didn't charm his enemies into surrender. He terrified them into submission. When cities resisted, he annihilated them. Entire populations were slaughtered, and word of his brutality traveled faster than his armies. Soon, cities opened their gates at the sound of hoofbeats rather than face destruction. It was fear that allowed him to conquer faster than any general before or since. Love didn't build the largest empire the world had ever seen. Fear did. In today's world, companies build reputations that deter rivals from even entering their space. Genghis Khan did the same with nations. His name became a weapon, a psychological empire stronger than walls or armies. Number 4. Al Capone, charity and cruelty. Chicago in the 1920s was another kind of battlefield. At its center stood Al Capone. To the poor, he was a benefactor. He opened soup kitchens during the Depression, handed out coal in winter, paid hospital bills for families who couldn't afford them. People in his neighborhood loved him. But his empire wasn't secured by love. It was secured by fear. Rival gangs who crossed him were massacred. The St. Valentine's Day massacre sent a message that echoed across Chicago. Judges, juries, and police officers feared his reach. Businesses paid not out of loyalty, but because they dreaded the consequences of refusal. Capone balanced both sides. He was loved by the powerless, feared by the powerful. Yet when the federal government charged him with tax evasion, love vanished. No soup kitchen could save him. His empire had been built on fear, and without it, he was finished. Love can be intoxicating, but without respect, it collapses. If a partner doesn't respect you, if they don't fear losing a man of strength and discipline, affection alone won't hold the bond. Number 5. Pablo Escobar, silver or lead. In Colombia, Pablo Escobar built an empire larger than most corporations. His motto was simple: plata o plomo, silver or lead. Take his bribe or take a bullet. Judges, police, politicians all lived under his shadow. At the same time, Escobar poured millions into the barrios of Medellin. He built soccer fields, schools, and housing. The poor called him a saint. Mothers wept at his funeral as if they had lost a savior. He was both loved and feared. But when the state and the United States united against him, only fear mattered. Love couldn't protect him. The people who once cheered for him turned silent. He died hunted, cornered on a rooftop. For a decade, fear had made him untouchable. In the end, it made him a target too big to survive. Number 6. Napoleon Bonaparte, the balance of love and fear. Napoleon may be the closest example of a leader who mastered both. His soldiers adored him. He remembered their names, spoke to them directly, shared their hardships. They would march through hell for him. He was loved like a brother in arms. But across Europe, kings and emperors feared him. Entire coalitions formed simply to stop him. That fear gave him power far beyond his armies. It altered diplomacy, shaped alliances, and redrew the map of Europe. Yet fear has its limits. His ambition pushed nations into a united front. His enemies feared him so much that they forgot their own rivalries, and in that fear they finally destroyed him. It shows the balance Machiavelli hinted at: love where possible, fear where necessary. Napoleon held both in his grasp, but he learned that too much fear, spread too wide, will eventually unite the world against you. Number 7. Modern leaders and the echo of Machiavelli. Even in business, Machiavelli's principle lives on. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, was not a leader people loved in the traditional sense. He was harsh, demanding, sometimes cruel. Employees feared his criticism. They feared his perfectionism. Yet that fear drove them to levels they never thought possible. They produced innovations that reshaped the world. When Jobs died, he wasn't remembered as a gentle mentor. He was remembered as a visionary who demanded greatness. Machiavelli would have approved. A client might enjoy working with you. They might even say they love your service. But do they depend on you? Do they fear losing you to a competitor? That fear, not their affection, determines how long they stay. Other leaders, from Jack Welch at General Electric to Jeff Bezos at Amazon, have all, in their own way, used fear to drive performance. Not brutality, but the fear of disappointing standards, the fear of losing position, the fear of being left behind. Love motivates when things are easy. Fear sustains when things are hard. Number 8. The illusion of love. History is full of leaders who believed love would protect them. Caesar in Rome, Gotti in New York, Escobar in Medellin. They mistook affection for loyalty, and when pressure came, affection evaporated. Machiavelli never dismissed love entirely. He wrote that ideally, a ruler should be both loved and feared. But if forced to choose, fear is safer. Love is voluntary. Fear is reliable. Love may win hearts, but fear secures obedience. Conclusion. From Renaissance Florence to Rome, from Mongolian steppes to Chicago alleys, from Colombian barrios to Silicon Valley boardrooms, the same principle repeats. Love creates legends. Fear sustains power. Julius Caesar's love made him beloved, but not untouchable. Augustus's fear gave him decades of stability. Genghis Khan's terror built an empire faster than any army of affection. Capone and Escobar walked the line, but when fear turned against them, love offered no shield. Napoleon proved that both can coexist, until fear grows so great it unites the world against you. And even today, the most demanding leaders echo Machiavelli's words, often without knowing it. Stop chasing approval like the nice guy who bends to everyone else. Warriors didn't beg for love. They trained until they became beasts, men so sharp, so dangerous, so disciplined that no one wanted to test them. That's where fear comes from. Not from absence, but from presence. Be the man others treat with respect first, not the one hoping for scraps of affection, and only then can you afford to be the nice guy within limits. Machiavelli's warning is harsh, but it is survival. It is much safer to be feared than loved. Love may inspire. Fear endures. So when you look at power, in politics, in business, in life, remember what history has whispered again and again. The men who lived on love alone were destroyed. The men who lived with fear carved their names into time. And when the test comes, when loyalty is weighed against risk, it is fear, not love, that decides who stands with you.